Welcome to the Best Damn Podcast. This is your host, Jill Lagan, CEO of the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce. In each episode, we will highlight what makes Boulder City, home of the Hoover Dam, the ideal place to operate your small business, explore world-class tourism attractions, and discover why we are the perfect place to live and unwind. Hello, I'm so excited to talk to you, Miss Magon Peuker. Thank you so much for being on today. This is going to be an amazing little conversation. We have a lot in common, more so than you even realize, and super impressed with your skills, your life experiences, and what it is you bring to the table. Magon, will you tell us a little bit more about who you are, why you're here to talk to us today, and about the amazing book you wrote?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jill, for having me. So excited to be here. Little background of myself is that I was born and raised in California, and I was previously married, and I had 2 children with this person, and we were married for 13 years and built a life out there. I was married very young, and we had kids very young, and we had 2 daughters, McKayla, who's 15 now, and then our little Raelynn, who is 13, and she's special needs. She has a rare disease and a rare genetic mutation. It's called MYLK. And not many people know what that is, but in a nutshell, it's pretty much just where your vasculature is just too small to supply sufficient blood flow to your brain and in other parts of her body too. So it's a systemic issue, and she's had 7 strokes to date. So we've definitely had our fair share of medical complexities throughout her life in her short 13 years. And we actually fled to Nevada 3 years ago because I got out of an abusive relationship with my ex. And we came out to Nevada because I had found somebody out here that I had gone to middle school with. We were friends in middle school, and he had lived out here for 25 years, and my parents had moved out to Arizona, and I wanted to be closer to them. And I was just like, I can't stay in California. I can't stay in the house that something horrible happened in. And so I came out here, and my current husband has just been my rock, my saving grace. And we ended up just a year and a half ago, we just had our baby girl. So she completes our family. And she's 1.5. She's crazy. She's all over the place. But we have 3 girls now, and we're just balancing life as much as we possibly can.
It sounds like you probably have some built-in babysitters, too. Your 15-year-old's name is?
McKayla.
McKayla. I'm sorry, I didn't remember that. And is McKayla loving your newest little person?
It's really quite cool to see the relationship because she is like a second mom.
Yeah,
almost.
Bet.
And when you have your kids in your early 20s, you're just figuring things out. And then there's this whole other era when you're almost 40, and then you have another baby. So it is nice that McKayla is able to be that like help to me and help out more than I have to worry about another kid on top of it.
And so what is McKayla's role with Raelynn? I would imagine that you've got to be really careful about that balance. I have had this situation with my own girls. And so I do know that you want to make sure McKayla has a full life too, because there's a lot of time dedicated to Raelynn. So now what does that look like? What is that relationship with those 2?
I'm so glad you asked that, because a lot of people are always so fixated on the needs of that special needs child, and everything is just so Raelynn, and what does she need? And she's at the hospital, and we're doing studies, and we're doing testing, and we're doing all of these things. And it really throws your other children on the back burner. And so for McKayla growing up, she was 2.5 when Raelynn was born, and we didn't know anything until Raelynn was about 8 months old. And so I would say she was about 3.5 years old when all of this unfolded. We're away at the hospital. We're in it. We're in the thick of it. We're just powering through life, and we're in survival mode at that point. And it's really difficult to tear your heart apart for this little 3.5-year-old girl that wants to just have this normal life, but you're in this medical world with your other child. And so she's really had to learn this independence and this mom and dad couldn't be there for a lot of things. I feel guilty in some ways, but I also know that we couldn't have done it any other way. She's really grown into this beautiful, mature young woman because she was pushed into that role. She was forced into a role where she had to be more mature and more independent than most kids because we couldn't be there for her. And there were things like little graduations and first days of kindergarten and things like that we missed. And now I feel like I have a really better relationship with her because I was able to get into a good relationship. It helps me, right? As a mom and as a woman, it helps me. But when you have that support in the home, we actually have a better relationship now to where we can go out and do those things.
Right.
And go get coffee together and go shopping together. I feel like our relationship is better than ever now.
Yeah.
But definitely when she was growing up, she had to be on her, I wouldn't want to say on her own, but she had to be without mom and dad for a lot of that, though.
So she learned independence early. I would imagine she's going to be an amazing leader with a lot of compassion for people that may look different than she does. So I can't wait to meet her. I bet she's amazing. Share with me, okay, what made you want to write a book? Where did Raelynn's Flower Garden come in? You decided, okay, I've been journaling my life. Maybe it's time to help share with others. What was that? What threw you into that?
I will say that I was not prepared to ever write a children's book. I have had one of those lives where so many people have heard little snippets here and there, and they were just like, you need to write a book about your life. And so I was actually in the middle of an autobiography, which I'm still writing, and that kind of came to a halt because with the writing, there's really heavy topics and there's just death and grief and just there's this toxic marriage that I was just getting out of and the traumas with that. It was a little too much to write about. It was just too real and it pulls you in, and for days and days you're just in this funk because of your writing about it. So I put that on the back burner, and I had an opportunity when the school, we had an incident at the school, and Raelynn came home, and she came home in bruises one day. And I was like, we can't have that, obviously. And I want to turn this bad situation into something good, into something that can help people to understand how we can,
how to learn from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I sat for 2 days. It's a children's book, so it's short. But I took a break from my autobiography and I said, I want to write this book for Raelynn, and I want to have this legacy for Raelynn. And I want people to learn kindness, and I want people to learn the acceptance of kids that look different, are different, and she's nonverbal and she's in a wheelchair. And I just want that message to go out to as many people as possible because we just need to show kindness to her. There's a person in there. She's not able to communicate, but she does communicate with us. And I know there's a voice in there. I know that there's a person in there, and she just wants to be heard and loved at the end of the day. And so that was my message with this book. And I originally thought, that'll be cool. I'll just write this book and leave a book for Raelynn, and some of my friends and family might be able to enjoy it, and I can give out a handful of copies to grandparents and stuff, and it'll just be this cute little thing. And it just ended up being so much bigger than that. It just took off. And I was given opportunities to be at Art in the Park and meet other people through different booths and vendors. And now I'm like, I have this website, and now, people want to book me for speaking engagements and podcasts. And I'm just like, this is so much bigger than I could have imagined.
Quite the legacy. You did it. You accomplished exactly what you talked about. And I would imagine it was probably cathartic for you as well.
It was. Yes, definitely was. And so I'm happy to tell the story. I love everything that Raelynn's Flower Garden has to offer, but it's the real story behind it that I want to get out. And so it's definitely a stepping stone in that direction. But my thoughts, my hopes, my dreams is to just get this whole story out and be a platform for my autobiography when that comes out, and the next couple books that are going to be coming out in the Raelynn series. Yeah.
How cool. So there's more to come.
There is.
Thank you for that little, I'm sure it's not exclusive. You probably told everybody that, but I'm going to pretend like you're announcing something here. Maybe we'll have you come back when you do actually release those two so we can be the exclusive announcer of the Raelynn series.
That would be great.
How fun. And so have you picked back up on the autobiography? Are you actually working with it now? Is enough time happened, enough healing happened that you can have that discussion now?
I did. And I was up writing till almost midnight last night on it. And something sparked that writing in me again. And I think it just takes time. This is pretty fresh. And I don't know if you want me to get into this now. This happened 3 years ago where I fled to Nevada, like I said. And it was, the anniversary is coming up, November 17th. Is our horror night. It was the night that my ex locked himself. We were going through a divorce at the time, and he didn't like that. And I had COVID during that time, and he came up to be with the children and help me during that time. And he went off that night. And that was November 17th will always be a day that is etched in my mind and etched in my children's mind. And it's a traumatic night because my ex tried to take his life on that night. And it was a horrific way. He locked himself in my closet, and we were able to flee to the neighbor's house, which we have a great relationship with these people. They gave us the code to their door because they knew the situation. They knew it was turning ugly. And McKayla, being the warrior that she is, I think she was 12 at the time, which would have made Raelynn 10. She throws Raelynn on top of her. She runs to safety to the neighbor's house. I'm trailing behind them. And we get out just in time. And my ex-husband FaceTimes me in the closet and proceeds to take his life with a handgun and ends up shooting himself in the head. And he survives.
Oh, geez.
And so that was a night that I was like, this person could never be around my children again.
No, you're right.
And this is a toxic person. This is a dangerous person. And this whole time he knew that even though we were getting a divorce, I wanted nothing more than to do the co-parenting, to still have him there for all the special events, girl's life. That would have been the most amazing outcome. And it just didn't turn out that way.
So thank you for sharing that's a very tender, I can hear in your heart and in your voice, that's a very tender story to try to share, and a very scary story as well. And I can only imagine it probably made McKayla have to grow up very quickly. And I would imagine Raelynn still feels and understands that there was something traumatic going on. She wasn't safe. She must have sensed that. How do you bring those girls and yourself back from that? Was there counseling? Was there, I imagine, a lot of family support? How just the simple cleaning of the mess and getting your belongings out would have been traumatic enough. But to know that you witnessed all of that, and sadly, that man chose to make you have to witness it via FaceTime, there's a lot of animosity, I would imagine, too.
I will say that going back to that day, I didn't think that he was going to survive. And doctors were saying, there's no way this person's going to survive. And even if he does, it's going to be a year at least that he's in this rehab facility. So I was at ease with that, as far as I don't have to worry on a daily basis that this person's going to have the capacity or the ability to come after me, because that's initially what he did tell me. Had we been in that house, I fear for the safety of my life, for my girl's life, because he did threaten those things on a daily basis. And so the fact that he pulled that off, thank goodness it was just him. But I will say that at the end of the day, I was relieved in a sense that he was in the hospital. He didn't have the capacity to come after us. But then 2 months later, he's walking out of the hospital, driving a car. And so I'm like, we need to get the restraining order on and we need to get out of this situation. We need to get out of California. I didn't feel safe at that time being in that house. And he had all of the codes still in the locks. And I just said, I cannot be here anymore. And yeah, so we fled. And talk about, like you said, McKayla, she was already having to grow up in a mature way for her sister, but then this on top of it and having to like witness that trauma and go through that with me. I don't have a handbook for that. I don't have anything that I can offer other than I was just so blessed to have both of my girls with me alive that night. And I could not be more thankful. That's all of those materialistic things go away at the end of the day. You're just like, okay, I don't need any of that stuff. I don't need the stuff in the house. I don't need the whatever you think is important. It was my two girls and they were safe and they were alive and they were healthy. And I left with a shirt on my back and that was it. No looking back. So
I would imagine too, there's got to be a bit of a closure there. You knew you needed to move on. You knew you were in the process of the divorce. You knew all of those things were happening. But I would imagine that almost solidifies your choice. My choice was the right choice. I'm moving forward. There's closure there. And now next steps. It's time to start healing, right?
There's closure, but there's also this new opening of why. Oh. Why would you choose that over any other option? And having to rock your kids to bed every night when they're blaming. Raelynn's a different story. I can feel it in her. She knows what's happened. She's scared about what happened, but we don't really bring that into her life. I don't want to cause her any more trauma.
Heck yeah, I totally agree.
But my 15-year-old's at that level where she does want to talk about it. And she's been very clear. I do not want to have anything to do with him. I do not want to have anything to do with the family. And she wants to feel safe. It took her a while because she's a teenager and she's having to move to a new place. And there's this new stepdad and there's new schools and it's all new to her. And as a teenager, that's probably one of the hardest times to go through something like that.
Absolutely.
But I will tell you that when we sit down and have our conversations now, 3 years later, she's, Mom, this is the best decision you ever made. Even if I didn't agree with it in the beginning, I feel safe. I love my new stepdad. I love the family that we've created here. I love my school. I love my friends. I love where we're at. I would have never had any of that had things been different or had you stayed in that past relationship. And she's saying this with the opportunity like to have her own dad in her life or have a stepdad. And that speaks volumes to me.
And that's got to bring so much comfort to your heart.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
Because as a mom, you don't necessarily want to do things for yourself. And I feel being a mom, you don't want to feel selfish in the choices that you make. They always should involve your children. And I had to step away from that for a little bit. And I had to say what is right for me and what is right for my family. And that's how I ended up where I'm at right now. But it did seem selfish in the beginning because McKayla's going, you're seeing somebody else. We're going somewhere different. You're plucking me from this life. And so it all makes sense now.
Yeah, you've got to go through that refiner's fire to come out that other side and see the difference. And she does too. And these are life lessons that she'll take with her. And I would imagine her life will be a lot different. Having seen some of these experiences, it probably will set in her mind the person that she chooses to be with, and the type of, maybe the bar that has been set will be a bit different because of this life experience.
I really hope so. I hope that she sees the difference between the two, between a toxic relationship and between a healthy relationship. And she's seen both worlds. And I can only hope that she chooses the latter so she sees how much better our life is now.
So I'm not sure if she'd ever want to write a book, but I would imagine maybe even a chapter in your book coming from her voice would be very enlightening and potentially educational for people her age that are also going through this kind of, that life chapter of hers is very important to your life's chapters. And so it'd be interesting to hear if she had interest in expressing that in a public way like that.
I love that, actually, and I never thought about that. We did talk about her having a voice and her writing. She does enjoy English. She does enjoy writing, and she loves to come to me for those types of projects. But that would be a great idea to add to the book.
Very cool. I want to know, what is it like to be an author? I have not written a book. I have been tempted. I've had people ask me to do something such, but my little brother, ironically, so to give you a little bit of information about me. So my older sister has a son with Asperger's. I have a daughter that's on the spectrum, and then my younger brother has a son on the spectrum. And so our family understands and understands more of the academic challenges. My daughter has some physical challenges, but so I would imagine he wrote a book. My younger brother did, and actually 3. And I find it fascinating, his thought process. And he does it from a spin of like a little mystery kind of thing, and what teenagers are doing, interacting in school, and how they interact with kids with special needs. And so I found that fascinating that he would even go there. So it blew me away. You're talking about a retired police officer that's seen a lot, and yet he could be tender enough to write these kids' book. And I find that fascinating. And so I'm really impressed with him. But how do you know, to be an author, to sit down and go, okay, I'm just going to sit at this computer and I'm just going to write my thoughts. How do you even organize it? The physicality of being an author, what does that look like?
Yeah. So like I said, I never thought I would write a children's book, for one. And I'm an organized person by nature, and I've got that type like A personality where everything's methodical and thought out ahead of time and planned and organized. My house has to be clean and organized. So I definitely think I have help with already having some of those characteristics. But I think with my writing, I'm such a like a vulnerable state, and I'm just so real and raw in my writing. And I present my work as if I'm just sitting here speaking to you. And so it's not this very formal, made up piece. I'm sitting here in my thoughts, and I'm thinking, and I'm playing around with things, and I'm writing from the heart, and it's very raw, and it's very real, and it's very emotional. And so I think that's one of my strengths, is that I love to be truthful, and I love to find that common ground with somebody and be able to connect with them. And I've learned that, especially through this writing process, that if you have a story, or if you have advice, or if you have anything, and you bring that to the conversation, just like you and I didn't know anything about you from today until today. And here we are having so many similarities, and had I not shared my story with you, you would not have been able to share your story with me. And so just being able to have that communication, have that open talk, and be vulnerable and be real and raw and emotional, I think is just the key.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I love that. And so I'm going to take up this challenge at some point in time. So have you had an aha moment in this process? This has been long for you and for your girls. And so the book, I would imagine, has had some aha moments itself in your life in totality. But has there been an experience that you would love to share about some kind of an aha moment?
I think the aha moment for me has been recent. And I think looking back at my life and what I would have become, I knew my potential all along. And so knowing that something wasn't right in my marriage, knowing that I needed to get out of that, knowing that I needed to move on and move on to something better that wasn't holding me back, so that I had a voice, so that I had a partner, so that I had this healthy lifestyle. That's the aha moment for me, is
Interesting.
being here in Boulder City with a husband that is supportive and loving and caring, having these healthy kids, having this completed family. And the other life that I had it's like a whole lifetime ago. It's days that it comes screaming back, and it's, oh my gosh, this just happened, especially with the date coming up. But on a daily basis, I'm just like, wow, like I've
Mm.
really made it. I'm here. I'm a best-selling author.
Right.
I'm a mom. My kids don't hate me. They love me. Like I have a great relationship with my family, with everybody. And that's the aha. That's what I can literally come out and say is the best feeling, is to have this well-rounded feeling of friendship and love and feel like I've made it in life. And I know it's only going to go up from here because I have more books and I have more events. And I just feel like this is the start of the aha.
I love it. I love hearing that because it gives all of us that boost to know that, you know what, we might be going through some challenges, but there's always a brighter side. There's always another side, and you got to charge through it, right? There's not a leadership book out there that doesn't say, oh yeah, you're going to have, every day is going to be perfect and now you're going to be a great leader. It all takes a little bit of that, like I said, the refiner's fire. You've got to have that rubble and that grit and that resistance in order to bring you to the other side, to know good from bad and to be able to understand there is something brighter and better. And I think you brought up a point that to know that you're valuable, right? You didn't take this and go, why me? And this is horrible. And you obviously are a very positive person, and you took the steps to make your life better for your girls and yourself. And now look at this wonderful life you have. So that's awesome. I'm super proud. I'm so glad I got to meet you. I'm glad you came on today. Let's do a little bit more about who Magon is. What was your first job?
So I lived in California, like I said. So my first job, I was 16 years old, and I had just gotten my car for my 16th birthday. And I was driving from Julian High School. I don't know if you know where Julian is, but it's it's a mountain town, a little pie company town. And I was driving down to the Wild Animal Park, the San Diego Wild Animal
Oh,
Park.
cool.
And I was going to school full time, and then I was working part time. And I loved having that job. I really did. It was a fun first job for me. And I got to meet some fun people, and I got to see the animals, and I got great benefits to be able to go to the park. And so I loved that.
How cool. And I would imagine the care of those animals helped you for the care of your family.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to actually work directly with the animals. I was able to talk with people that did. And then being 16, you'd have to have a degree for that.
Got it. Okay.
So,
I did not know that, but
yeah,
okay.
you would have to have a degree to work with animals and to do those things. But I worked in the food industry. I worked in the restaurants there. But it was a great, beautiful scenery. And I got to watch animals walk by, and it was really cool.
I love that. So I remember one of my favorite jobs it was more like a summer thing or during special events, but there was a flower shop here in Boulder City called Edie's Flowers, and I got to work around the flowers, and it was just such a happy job. Even when you were making flowers for funerals, which is kind of a bummer, but they're just beautiful, and they make people cheerful and happy. And anyway, I loved working in that flower shop. It was that same, just the environment makes you happy. So what is something people may not know about you?
I'm an open book for the most part. And that's a hard one.
I think you have mentioned something about your beautiful singing voice.
You know what? Yeah. Okay. So I believe it was 2011 is what it would have been. So back in 2011, I was chosen to be on The Voice.
Oh my gosh.
Which is the TV show where people go, it's like American Idol,
Yeah.
but it was each kind of a different version of it. And I was so excited. And my mom was going to go with me and travel, and we were going to stand on the line and do the audition and everything. And unfortunately, I got a call 2 days before that. And I had found out that my 19-year-old brother had passed in a car accident. And our family was devastated with that, obviously. And crazy enough, I was just writing about that in my autobiography last night. And so it's so fresh in my mind, and I can remember the day. It's one of those days where you remember the sights, the sounds, like what you were doing, how you were feeling. You can plug yourself right back into that moment when you found out. And it's just, you can relive that whole thing as if it happened again. And I was trying to be there for my parents. I was trying to keep it together for myself. McKayla was only 1 at that time. And so it was a very hard time. And I said, absolutely not. I can't do this. That dream, that ship has sailed and we're done with that. I often go back and I think, what would that life have been like had I gone to that audition? Had things been different, I would have gone, and it would have been really cool to see how far I would have made it. But I love to sing. I'm a shower singer. I sing all over the house, and McKayla really loves to sing.
Ooh,
and I
great.
hear her singing she's in the room below us. And so I just hear her belting out in the shower in the morning. And I'm like, you need to go do the national anthem at school, or you need to do something with this.
Okay, so does she sing the national anthem?
She sings. She's a great singer.
Well, you need to have her practice that, and we'll have her next year for Spring Jam. She can do the national anthem at Spring Jamboree to open the event for us.
That would be awesome. I'll tell her that. She'll probably get so nervous, but I'm like, you need to get your voice out there.
Hey, she's got quite a few, 6, 7, 8 months to practice. Tell her to be ready, and I would love, love, love to invite her to do that.
That would be great.
I'll give her a challenge. And then if she gets too nervous, then you can be her backup, and you guys can do a duet.
Perfect. Love it.
All right. That sounds good. Oh, that's so exciting. Congratulations for having that talent and that skill. My husband says I can't carry a tune if I had it in a bucket, and he's absolutely right. However, everybody has their own skills and their own things that they bring to this world. And so that's pretty exciting that you have that ability, and I'm glad that McKayla is also expressing that. What a fun way to make yourself feel better too, I bet.
Yeah, it is. It's a good outlet for sure.
That's very cool. Congratulations on that. I'm sorry that tragedy happened in your family's life. And like you said, you've been through it. You've had some challenges in your life and tragedy.
I have. And that's the reason why this autobiography needs to come out. I've talked with many people, and when they hear little snippets of my life, they're just like, wow, that actually happened to you. And wow, we've never heard of anything like that happening to somebody, but you're the one person that's happened to. It's like 1 or 2 things that I will share with somebody, and they're like, wow, you need to make a book. But I'm like, but that's not all. Then this happened, and then this happened.
Yeah.
And people are like, wow, like most people don't go through 1 or 2 of those things, let alone 10 or 20 things that you've gone through. And so
what an impact you'll have on others' lives.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's something to really strive for. So what book are you reading right now?
So I actually just finished a book called Hopi, and it was my publisher's book. So Hope Mueller is my publisher. She's a good friend of mine. Our daughters did volleyball together at the high school. And so I wanted to keep it local. I love keeping everything local in Boulder City. I love supporting other people in Boulder City. And I didn't want to go with a big publishing company or something, but she was like, yeah, I'm a publisher, and I've never done a children's book before, but it's called Brave Women at Work, that we can definitely get you on because you fit that narrative and you fit that as yourself as a woman. But we're going to take on this challenge and we're going to do it. And it's been great. So
fun.
Yeah. And her book is amazing. Talk about a life. Like she had some crazy things happen to her, and it talks about her life and growing up and how she went from this commune world into this corporate world. And so Hopi. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to find that one for sure and have our book club read that too. And I don't know, have you ever met Pam Honey? Pam wrote a book about her son with special needs, Jordan, and we had Pam on the podcast. So you'll have to check out Best Damn Podcast and look up Pam Honey.
I will.
Because she wrote a book. She's here local. She and I grew up together. And anyway, I think
she's local in Boulder then.
She's right here.
Okay, great.
She's amazing.
I'll definitely listen.
love her to death. And so I would imagine that your life has encompassed a lot of life lessons, but what's something that your mom and dad taught you that you still use today?
The biggest thing that they've taught me is just to rise above the challenge and just to show up each day. And so I think I've carried that on with me, and to be able to overcome. And I teach my girls this too, is that at the end of the day, you have a decision to make, and you can have something ugly happen. You can have something horrible happen. You can have something good happen. But at the end of the day, it's your choice to make it how you want it. And you can react in a way that, is going to be beneficial to you. And so I think that's carried on with me. It's carried on with my girls. My 15-year-old, she's a teenager. Everything's kind of dreary right now with some things. But for the most part, I remind her that at the end of the day, it's your decision to make yourself happy, to have the life that you want, and to overcome all those bad things that happen to you in the day, and to make a lesson out of it, and to move on, move forward. Just keep pushing forward, keep persevering.
She's very blessed to have a mom like you that can lead that and be by example. And so I am so glad that we had the time to visit today. Will you tell us how we can find out more about Raelynn's garden? Flower garden, find more information about that, and then also how they can either find that book, but how they can find more information about you.
Yes. So if you go on to my website, it's my name, MagonPeuker.com. I have a website and it tells you all of my upcoming events. It tells you I have the podcast up there that I've been on, and it has speaking engagement, book signings, and the really cool thing that's the most fun about my website is that you can get a signed copy from Raelynn. And so you can buy my book on Amazon, but I always tell people that if you want a signed copy from Raelynn, I have copies that I will personally drop off to you or send to you. And yeah, just MagonPeuker.com, and it has all of my events and everything that's upcoming with me. And you get to learn more about our family and our background and meet Raelynn. And so,
well, I would love to meet Raelynn in person. And I'm really hoping McKayla wants to come on and do the national anthem for us next season. And so thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I would imagine that a lot of people are going to be informed and have the option to be able to connect with you if they've got any further questions. And so in the show notes, we'll have all of that information. Everything will be linked. We'll make sure that they can connect with you, and they can always give us a call too. But thank you so much for being a part of the Best Damn Podcast. We're glad to have you as part of our family.
Thank you so much, Jill.
This episode of the Best Damn Podcast has been a production of the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce. Please check out all the links and social media handles on our website as well at bouldercitychamber.com. You can find the Best Damn Podcast on all your favorite podcast directories. Like us and share on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, discover, explore, and unwind in Boulder City.